Coach Sean in the building, and it is so good to see you here for a good time, not a long time. And we're continuing our conversation from yesterday. What's up, Jamie? Shout out to everybody in the TikTok chat, everybody over on YouTube, everybody over on Instagram. For those of you who are even aware that I'm live, um, I am trying to be a little bit more active across all platforms. So I appreciate you showing up. I appreciate you showing up. What is happening? If you're new, my name is Coach Sean. I'm a faith based relationship coach, and I have helped hundreds, many people, men and women, build healthier, happier, and whole relationships with themselves, with God, and with others while building security that lasts beyond marriage. And these are the type of conversations um, that we build, that we create out of lens of safetyness, but of course with curiosity, navigating all fields in relationships. And today's conversation is a continuation of what we talked about, or at least started yesterday. Okay, for those of you who are around, I'm a little late. I know I said I'd be on about 1:30, about like 30 minutes late. So yeah, no, we'll make it do though. And we got a little bit more to unpack in today's conversation. Again, everything is kind of going to build one from another. We kind of had a rough introduction yesterday regarding some of the bigger questions that we're probably going to ask and answer through this series. And of course, as more comes about, um, we'll deal with it. All right. And of course, we're going to be able to spend some time towards the end, taking a little bit of Q&A. So if you have questions, be sure to put them in the chat, and stick around. All right. Because they could definitely be answered in the duration of the stream and afterwards. All right. I appreciate everybody tuning in across the board. Hey, if you are uh, in the purple world of Instagram or YouTube, hey, definitely be sure to subscribe and follow over there as well. I'm uploading content over there regularly. Some of the more longer form conversations are reposted over on YouTube, so you definitely want to check that out because you're only getting bits and pieces in some of these lives, um, but you're definitely going to get longer duration of content over on YouTube. So be sure to check that out. And of course, for everybody, follow me on the socials, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. Um, a few things. Number one is you can actually check out next steps for you to take in not just coaching, but actually engaging in legitimate transformation of your relationships. Just go to the top of my page, click the link, and then you'll get a free relational diagnostic and a you'll be able to take a free attachment style quiz. All right. So if you don't know your attachment style, you can know it for free. Just go to the top of my page, click that link. And I have a secure program that is live in action right now. People getting wins and results left and right. I want you to be a part of that too because it's a program designed to get you from anxious or avoiding attachment to secure attachment. And believe it or not, there are a lot of people who might think they're secure until you take a step through a journey like this and you realize that maybe it's not fully there yet. And that's cool. We got another layer to unlock. And I want you to have it. And you have the first week for free. Okay. So be sure to check that out. Just send me a message with the word secure. Okay. Send me a DM with the word secure, and we'll be able to get you covered on those next steps intentionally. All right. To get you where you need to be. Um, like I said, here for a good time, not a long time. Shout out to everybody in the building. What's up, Kayla? How you living? Jamie, shout out to you. Lucy, see you. What's happening? Be sure to like the live, repost it, share it with others. It's good to see y'all. Happy Wednesday. Ooh, my day's mixed up. Happy Thursday. Friday Eve. Um, and we're gonna go ahead and get some stuff started here. I'm just making sure everything else is in place. Happy Friday, Junior. Yeah, happy Friday, Junior. Um, Yeah, this is going to be a really good conversation. And I got some statistics I want to run by y'all, I think, to kind of start this off. Um, and we're going to actually engage in some of the questions, and I'll have to go back and be sure I have them written down so I'm not necessarily going all over the place. Um, but I want to, this second conversation on the dating app dilemma is kind of the series topic that we're going to unpack. Um, I just want to spend some time, I think, introducing to you guys some of the statistics out here regarding dating apps. Okay. This is not going to be as much, well, maybe I won't say as much opinionated. Okay. As much as it is, hey, we're going to look at some statistics and numbers. So you guys actually know more of what you're stepping into in these spaces. For those of you who are on the dating apps, we got your boots on the ground. As I won't say break news. I've talked about it before. In the previous stream and conversation, your boy has been on dating apps. Is actually currently back on a dating app, and it's been like for the first time in 4 years. So it's a unique experience nonetheless. But I definitely want to be somebody who opens up the conversations in lanes. What's up, Pisces love? Happy Thursday. Good to see you. I definitely want to lead in these conversations because there's a lot of stigma around dating apps, around expectations, what's experience, what you see. Is it legit? Many people belong or not belong, but take the stand of this is not the move. Stay away from them. They're a terrible idea. There's some people who are on the other side where they're like, hey, it's you know, a move where you can engage with people. You can actually date a little bit more efficiently and effectively with social media and access to those things today. It takes a little bit more diligence, takes a little bit more discernment, takes a little bit more effort. However, the effort that you would put in going on dates, in person, and the rate in which you do them is something that you can actually narrow down in a more intentional manner through online dating. People have found it to be beneficial. There have been people who would tell you they found their, current partner that they're building life with, someone they're marrying. All right. There are just different sides of the fences, and I want to bring some perspectives from both sides. All right. Today, just to kind of give you some more information on where people are coming from, and obviously connect that to your own experiences. And as we're getting some stuff started, I would love to hear two things from you. Okay, as we begin kind of pulling up some of this stuff. Number one, are you currently on dating apps? Yes or no? All right. Or have you been on, number two, have you been on dating apps within the last year or two? Okay. I want you to answer me those questions. Drop that in the comment section. Number two, um, what has been your experience with dating apps so far? Okay. Um, you know, share as much as you like on that. Okay. Are you currently on dating apps? What's been your experience with dating apps? Would you recommend someone using dating apps? Okay. Those are the three main questions that we want to just get some things started off there. Um, and I want to bring up some of this stuff to you guys in this early portion of the conversation. Okay. So, number one, are you currently using dating apps? Yes or no? All right. Number two, have you used dating apps within the last year? And number three, or no, number two, I'm sorry, I'm getting my stuff mixed up. Okay, let me run it back. Number one, are you using dating apps? Okay, currently, yes or no? Number two, um, what has been your experience with dating apps if you've used them? Okay. Number three, would you recommend other people around you to use dating apps? Yes or no? All right. Um, so fill that in the comment section below. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the things. Even if you're watching on the replay, would love to have your feedback as well. Um, and we will go from there. Let me trying to get this playlist going. I can't really play that, huh? Instrumental. Yeah. Let me get some of that going. I want to know if you guys can hear some of this. Oh wow. Let's say they just got one song here. All right. Okay, there we go. Got a little something going. Hey. What is happening? Welcome in if everybody is listening. If you are on TikTok, good to see you. YouTube, good to see you. Getting some things started. Got a few questions I want you to answer in the chat. Number one, are you using dating apps? All right. Number two, what has been your experience in dating apps if you've used them? Okay. Or if you haven't used them, what's been your experience without them? All right. And then number three, would you recommend others to use a dating app? Okay. Let's get some of that flowing and going here. And then once you get that going, I'm actually ready to start some of this good conversation, some statistics I think you guys want to pay attention to when it comes to the dilemma of dating apps. Hey. I know TikTok can't really hear what's bumping right now in my headphones. It's probably sounding pretty good over on YouTube and Instagram. Hey. Everybody walking in. What is happening? What is happening? Okay. Shout out to Pisces in the building. I tried it out. A lot of people swipe and message. Yeah. Yeah. That seems to be a common experience with dating apps. Hey. A lot of people think it's muddy waters. It's pretty bad. It's not the move. A lot of people ghost. A lot of people have minimal contact with others. All the things. I think this is the space to just kind of open up some of those conversations. Anybody else? Are you using dating apps? What has been your experience with using dating apps or your experience without them in dating? And would you recommend to other people? Okay. Answer those questions as you're coming in. And I want to get some stuff started. The message then fall off and then come back. I never respond to those people. Okay. All right. So you sounds like you're actively using dating apps. Had some frequent messaging or maybe a little bit of messaging, but it doesn't really go far. Okay. Am I a singer? Nah. I love to sing, but I ain't a singer. A radio host? Nah. Nah. Gosh, I'm trying to find these no. Man. I thought these were instrumentals. I don't know why they're playing that. Yeah. I thought these were instrumentals. I'm being filtered. Oh, snap. Nah, just say that. I don't know. What do you send one at a time, maybe? I'm still trying to get something figured out here. So you are okay. I gotta scroll down in some of my notes. Yeah, I'm one of those note takers. Like when it's on my mind, I'm talking it through, and then I be losing sight of it. Losing sight of it. My notes are just messy. Just a messy note taker. So I don't want to take up too much time. Let's. Everybody welcoming in. What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy Coach Sean. If you're new here, I'm a faith-based relationship coach, and I am here to help you build healthier, happier, and whole relationships with yourself, with God, and with others while building security that lasts. beyond marriage. And it's only right, as part of having conversations about all things related to relationships, that we actually talk about dating apps. This is actually something that's been requested of me to talk a little bit more about, from individuals around me, who are familiar with my work, who I have done work with. And there's a lot of different stigmas, beliefs, and thinking processes when it comes to dating apps. And I want to be just an individual who brings some statistics, some things, some thoughts, thinking pieces, all the things in relation to dating apps. Not necessarily on the side of, should you use them, should you not use them, but what are the curiosities and perspectives that both sides represent? How true is it? How legit is it? Is it something that can actually benefit you in any capacity when it comes to relationships? Is it truly fully a waste of time? All of those things and more that we're going to unpack in these conversations. And um, as we are coming in, I want you guys to answer a few questions. Number one, are you using dating apps? Okay. Number two, what success have you had in dating apps? What has been your experience in using dating apps or maybe not using dating apps? And then number three, would you recommend them to others? All right. You got close people around you, people that you know are single. Would you recommend them getting on a dating app? Yes or no? All right. All right. Alfonso, not using dating apps. Okay. Also, of course, if you're not using dating apps, share what your experience in dating has been without them. Okay. This is kind of like a nice little poll. Uh, and then, would you recommend others to use the dating apps? Is the third question. Okay. So be sure to drop that in the comment section. And we're going to go ahead and get some things started. All right. Just because I don't want to waste too much time. So if you're watching the replay, again, I encourage you to drop it in the comment section, your thoughts, your perspectives, all the things. And if you are over on Instagram and somehow watching this replay, definitely share your statistics. I want to be really quick here, because there are some interesting statistics around dating apps that I've had the privilege of kind of looking into, through a variety of different sources. Of course, thankfully to, you know, uh, AI tools and things to be able to get you some information a little bit quickly. This was actually a study that I did a little while ago, as I was just having conversations with clients and just people on dating apps, what their experiences were. Is it beneficial to use? And it just had me curious, like, fam, like, what are the numbers behind these things? So I want to present this to you. Here are some core data. We're going to start with a little bit of core data, behind dating apps and people's experience in dating with dating fatigue. What's up, Glitzy? Good to hear from you. See you. What's happening? Familiar face in the place. Appreciate you so much. Um, so the core dating app, or the data behind dating apps, something that you should know, all right, is that number one, burnout is a normal experience. Okay. Studies will tell you that the burnout experience on dating apps is normal and it's not necessarily the exception. Okay. And so if you're someone who's on dating apps and you're like, fam, I'm tired of swiping left, swiping right, message one day, goes ghost, message one day, doesn't turn into anything, and it just creates this sense of fatigue, you're not alone. Okay. 78% roughly of all dating app users report feeling emotionally, mentally, or physically exhausted. Okay. Among Gen Z, 79%, roughly, approximately, experience burnout regularly, whereas millennials report fatigue at an 80% rate. Okay. So if someone is using dating apps consistently, the consensus can be that burnout isn't a risk, it's just the predicted outcome. Okay. It's like you can almost expect it. All right. And I think it's good to go into why that's there. All right. Not necessarily so much about the statistics in terms of the numbers, but the feeling emotionally, mentally, or physically exhausted. Okay. When you talk about feeling emotionally and mentally exhausted, all right. Well, when you think about the process of getting on a dating app, you see, swiping left and right. Okay. This is another form of a social media app, none less different than maybe you getting on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the things. Okay. So it's just another app. It's another mental, or, stimulated experience. All right. You go through so many profiles. Okay. For people who are maybe more intentional, some may say, or perhaps there's another angle where it's not necessarily about intentionality. It's just you're on there because you're bored or whatever the case is. You're swiping through a lot of profiles, right? left, right, and in between. And in the process of doing that, the chances of every profile matching with you is low. All right. And out of maybe, let's say, roughly 50 to 100 profiles that you come across and that you make a decision on whether you want to like or dislike, there's a good chance that you probably may match with uh, what this is off the top of my head, an immediate, few. Okay, it's a lot fewer than maybe the amount of profiles that you actually came across. And so, not only is there a lot of effort put into the swiping, these are just from people who are talking about their experience in dating app. Not only is it the effort in the swiping, and the liking and the disliking, you finally come across a match, right? Thank you for the day, Heart Me Glitzy. Appreciate your time. So you finally come across a match. Okay, the profiles match. However, now that we've got that out the way, it's time to take it to the next step, right? So we break the ice. Who sends the message? And there's a lot of people who might say, hey, there's a match, but there's no message sent. No one wants to break the ice. People are afraid to say the wrong thing. I don't want to look silly. I don't want to look desperate, whatever kind of perception we might paint around that, right? So we're afraid to break the ice. If the ice is broken, perhaps it's a little weak. It's not something to continue building on. The messaging isn't consistent. You might send a few messages here and there, and then it falls off. Okay. Or perhaps this person leaves the chat, finds another match, whatever the case is, right? I'm giving you this, a little bit more of a detailed process that not necessarily explains everyone, but gives a beginning perspective to what these things look like for those of you who are unfamiliar with dating apps, or if, to those of you who are on dating apps and you know exactly what I'm talking about. There is a feeling, right, that by the time we finally get a match, now we have to build up the momentum to actually take this beyond the app. And then we finally, perhaps out of the few that match, there's very fewer that you take it beyond the app and numbers are exchanged. A date is actually planned only to get on this date, spend the money, all the things, and whether the date wasn't as hyped up as maybe it was anticipated. Perhaps the person that you went on the date with didn't look exactly like how you expected them to be based off of the version of them that you encountered on the app, right? Not a, maybe again for some of you it's a complete catfish, and for others of you it's not necessarily a full catfish. It's just you know been on one for 6 months max one time. Now I feel it. And so there's variety of different things, right? So by the time you get the date, by the time you experience the date, by the time you have the, you know, environment for the date, it doesn't necessarily go as well in this plan. We're back to square one. Okay. And the wash, rinse, and repeat of the emotional, mental, or even physical exhaustion seems very, very, very prevalent. Okay. If you're like me and you've ever wondered, bro, how in the world are there so many single people who complain about being single and yet can't find someone to connect with? Right. This is probably something that plays a role in some of the exhaustion or fatigue that many singles are experiencing today. Okay. And of course, if you want to take into full consideration economic statuses and, trying to keep up with life, I got bills to pay. I got responsibilities to handle. I got a 9 to 5 to work. I got all these things to do. And adding a relationship on top of that and the effort it takes to create that relationship, knowing I'm already tired from all the extracurriculars I got going on around me, you know, that definitely is something that can play a role, right? But I definitely want to unpack all of that just a little bit further as we dive into this conversation because we're just talking about numbers, right? Not necessarily opinions. Is if what they're feeling is right, if what they're experiencing is right, we're just talking about numbers, all right? And so burnout is the norm, not the exception. So if you get on dating apps and you feel like, bro, I'm already tired of it, you're probably a part of the majority, not the few. Okay. And so let's look a little further. All right. This is another summarization that I have found. And that is that women, this is point number two in dating apps. Of course, there's probably many statistics. All right. And I definitely don't want to come at this as if like I have the fullest up to date numbers. All right. These are from where am I getting these stats? Yeah. So, I mean, a variety of different places. Okay. Places like Forbes. All right. I want to definitely give you some references here. I've done some studies through Forbes findings and summarizations. Okay. There's definitely some studies through Yahoo and different, not just Yahoo, but if you go to, oh my goodness, like actual case studies among people. Okay. I did do a little bit of due diligence over there as well. I'm forgetting the website. It's like, I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it and circle back because I definitely don't want to leave that open. But a lot of research in terms of that. Of course, I also did some digging um, as I was putting this stuff into like things like, Chat GPT and things like that, just to kind of have some conversations. Then I definitely had them give me some resources. So as they're coming up, I'm going to pull them up. Actually, there is one here from number 2 that I want to share with you. Okay, so this is the second one. Women feel it more intensely, but men aren't far behind. Okay. So this is still in the conversation of burnout. All right. Women are at a roughly 80% burnout rate compared to the 70%, 74% burnout rate of men. Okay. So here's a actual excerpt from Forbes. Okay. Which is a, relatively, it has newsletters, but it also does some really good studies that I think is a trusted resource so far that I have found. Okay. And I'm always open to being challenged on that. But this is something that is really, really interesting. Okay. And it gives a percentage of the popular dating apps, who's using them, what generation. Okay. But this is something that is so, so interesting that I wanted to bring about. Okay. So the breakdown, this is what it says later in the section of how dating apps make people feel. All right. So the breakdown of those who feel burned out by dating apps, sometimes, often, or always includes the following: millennials at 80%, Gen Z at 79%, Gen X at 78%, baby boomers at 70%. So here's a quote from an individual by the name of Dr. Span. And just because I have it available to me, Dr. Span, okay, maybe not necessarily somebody I can just fully look up. All right. I thought I could, but I'm not that dope. All right. Dr. Span, obviously they have these names in here, and they may not necessarily tell you exactly who these people are. I don't know who they are, and I'm okay with not knowing. But this is a comment that this individual left. People who experience burnout with dating apps are exhausted from constantly meeting new people, failing opportunities, and lies. Yeah, it's spelled with two N's. It's kind of crazy, right? Says Dr. Span. So over time, the unfortunate misgivings of being on a dating app can cause someone to lose hope in the dating process and finding the right person. If I'm honest, okay, this is actually something based off what I've experienced in my work and who sits in front of me. That is a very common feeling. Okay, the loss of hopelessness. Um, these ninjas ain't about nothing. Can't find a girl. All the things is oftentimes coming from experiences where I'm going to the places that were told if I went here, it had a better opportunity of finding. Okay. And I'm meeting new people regularly. Not only am I meeting new people regularly, but opportunities are constantly failing. If it's not one date, it's 3 dates. If it's not 3 dates, it's 5 dates. It seems like it's going somewhere only for it to fall. Okay. And not to mention experiencing and having to decipher through so many lies, right? Dating apps don't really give you the full picture, the full painting in the upfront moment. And so this is the perspective that's given. Okay. I'm not telling you what's right or wrong. We're going to have some time to get into some of these perspectives later. I just want to lay the groundwork for what's in front of us. Okay. And we're not just going to talk about this. We're also going to talk about some other statistics like what have people found? Okay. What are the positives? What have people gained? So just stick with me for this portion of the conversation. Okay. And so this is actually, again, coming further from the statistic that we opened up that men or women feel more burnt out than men, 80% reporting feeling some level of burnout compared to 70% or 74% of males. Okay. So it's said that women lead with an emotional connection and men lead with a physical. This is coming from Dr. Span still. Women might be more burnt out because of the emotional connection, which could have a heavier impact than the physical connection of men. And this is, again, what his opinion says. I presume that meeting different people and connecting at the emotional level could be viewed as a deeper connection, and it could be challenging to heal and reconcile after dating or a relationship that didn't work. Okay. So there's a level of emotional investment that women are pouring into these connections, whether it's sooner, whether it's later, whether it's too much, whether it's too little, whatever the case is, there is some level of burnout that is connected to the emotional investment that women may lead with, okay, in these spaces. Um, I want to read off some of these reasons why people feel burnt out on dating apps, okay, and the percentages of these things. Chiara, I appreciate the question. I see you. Hang on with me to the end, okay, and I'm definitely going to come back and answer that while we're here. So why do people feel burnt out on dating apps? All right. Well, number one, here's reason one. This is at 40%. 40% of people say failure to find a good connection with someone. Okay. 35% says being disappointed by people, being ghosted or lied to. Okay. And we're going to get into all this because if I'm being honest, experiencing a ghosting, okay, whether that's actually specifically from the dating app or even someone you briefly met and got to know, I think is exposing more of one's inability to process pain at a healthily tangible manner than it is on the ghosting itself. We're going to talk about that. Okay. Again, we're going to have a time to deal with that throughout this series, but this is just something I want to paint to you. All right. 35% says being disappointed by people, whether it's being ghosted to or lied to. What's up, Marion? Good to see you. 27% say feeling of being rejected. Okay. 24% says messaging multiple people and having repetitive conversations. This is really good. All right. Number or the 22%. Okay. Again, why do people feel burned out on dating apps? 22% of people in this study that they did. Okay. This data is based, if I can back up for a second and have a healthier beginning, the data is based on a survey of 1,000 Americans who have used a dating app within the past year. Okay. And this data was collected from March 27th to April 1st, 2024. So this is a relatively recent study, okay, within the last 2 years. All right. So 40% say failure to find a good connection. 35% say being disappointed by people. 27% say feeling of being rejected. All right. 24% say messaging multiple people and having repetitive conversations. 22% say swiping through potential matches. Okay. I'm assuming that might be more on a free plan. That's not necessarily somebody who's investing into the app that they can see their matches. So they're kind of guessing, right? Um, then there's 21% that says time spent using dating apps. Okay. I have no doubt that there might be people who are probably using dating apps like hours at a time a day. Okay. Then there's 20% that says pressure to present yourself in a certain way. Now that's interesting. Very interesting. 18% say maintaining your profile, updating it, giving different looks, what works, what starts conversations, what does all those things. Okay. Juggling multiple dating apps at once. That falls at 18% alongside maintaining your profile. Okay. And so clearly, people are feeling burnt out on dating apps through many of these different variety of experiences. And if you're being honest, does seem like there can be some directions where we look at it and say that's something more so we can manage, we can control. But again, just some numbers to keep that in mind. So, just off the top, burnout is the norm and women are experiencing it most. Okay. Matter of fact, I think there's a good chance that there's more women than men on dating apps, but I am not 100% sure on that. Don't take that as like a statistic. I'm not saying that's a statistic. That just is kind of maybe a very, very small out left field observation. Okay. So don't just take that with a grain of salt. Here's the third thing, okay, that we're finding in dating apps. Okay. Of course, this is still centered on the fatigue aspect, the biggest driver. Okay. Obviously, we kind of hinted on that. Can't find meaningful connections, rejections, no matches, or repetitive conversations. And then, of course, you add ghosting, unrealistic expectations, surface level interactions, the dopamine driven swiping loops. Okay. Left and right, right and left. Okay. Um, so this is also very interesting as well. All right. Now, I'm not necessarily saying Wikipedia is a great resource for this because I'm not going to pull that up. But I do think based off of the status of men, the economic status of men, and experience that men share within the dating spaces, good, bad, or indifferent, men swipe far more, okay, but get very low match rates. Okay. That's like roughly 0.6%. All right, of like the match rate for men. Okay. So you're swiping a whole lot more, you're seeing a whole lot more profiles, but the matches are so low. Whereas women are more selective, but get significantly more matches. Right. So you might hear people say when they might take over a dating app for someone, they're like, hey, women shouldn't necessarily go and swipe left and right. Right. Maybe they should be the ones to invest in a particular setting for the app that gives them the privilege to see who likes them. So they're choosing from who likes them instead of going and surfacing maybe the same type of individual. Okay. You might also hear people who might be on the side and say, hey, when you get on dating apps, people are liking and matching with the same type of person. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're, connecting with the same exact person, name, face, and all. However, the same type of the prototype. Okay, the descriptions, the physical features, like you're liking and swiping and experiencing the same type of person, just with a different name, different background, all the things. Okay, and so maybe there's some truth to that. All right, so stick with me because we're gonna get past these numbers, but I just have to lay the groundwork for this type of conversation that we're laying. We're gonna go a little bit quicker. Okay. And so, of course, there's the mental health aspect that's very much impactful. Okay. So, from the Washington Post, as of June 7th, 2025, that did an article saying that dating apps, uh, okay, they're not. Oh, yeah, the Washington Post is not going to let me. So, the dating apps might be, is what they're suggesting. Okay. They might be experiencing or causing a greater deal of mental health tension within people just because of the feelings of rejection and inadequacy. Okay. Not to mention, maybe there's some addiction to validation, external validation, right? Perhaps there's people that are matching from attachment wounds. Okay. So that's something that we're going to unpack a little bit there, because that definitely can be a driving force that gets people on to dating apps. I mean, let's face it, there's people who will get on breakups and experience a breakup with someone and then be on a dating app, not necessarily because they're ready for another relationship, but because they miss the feeling of having the attention of somebody, right? You miss the feeling of having the attention of somebody. And so you crave that. So, what better way to go and get that than to swipe left, swipe right all day, every day on these apps to find it? Okay. You need external validation, the hypersensitivity, somebody blowing smoke. Okay. Just, validating you every which direction, all that can play a role. Okay. There are some people who may suggest that there's an increase in anxiety and depression, all the things. Okay. So all these stats kind of feel a little rough right now. Right. And they're probably like, yo, this is exactly why I don't get on dating apps. They're rough. They're crazy. It's not it. All right. Um, Now I do want to, I want to also highlight this. Okay. That 75% of users on dating apps want serious relationships, but only 5% or roughly 5% actually find long term success. Okay. So this is also, this looks like from another post, a reference as of June 26, 2025. Dating apps have every interest to turn our love lives into Gruyere cheese full of holes and short-lived. This is very interesting. And short-lived experiences. Okay. And so they have a lot of different experiences here. Um, I want to actually pull this up though and read a little bit of it. So look at this. So actually, this is so interesting. And this is not just in the States. All right, this is like across the board. So uh, these tools. All right. So why did you feel compelled to write this book about dating apps? Is what they're asking the author of this book, or maybe this reference. Yep, the author of the book, Arnaud Poisonnier, Poissonnier, maybe. I don't know how to really say that. Okay. He's author of a book examining the love industry, advocates for regulating the sector through a professional association, and calls on platforms to completely rethink their system. Okay. When asked why he felt compelled to write about this book, he mentions that the tools lie with complete impunity and at the risk of plunging users into despair. And he wanted to expose this intellectual dishonesty by analyzing the quality of the service offered in user feedback. Okay. The state of affairs would horrify any business person. So in 2020, 83% of Europeans reported being dissatisfied with dating apps. Okay. Simply put, my estimates show that 75%, this is the author speaking, my estimates show that 75% of users are seeking lasting love, but only 5% achieve that dream. Okay. In other words, these platforms lure customers in by presenting themselves as the perfect springboard for romance, yet, in the vast majority of cases, they only lead to disappointment or short lived relationships. So, in other words, from his perspective, these apps, Okay, these social media apps are presenting themselves as something designed to spring, to push you into having healthier relationships, or not necessarily healthier relationships, just more relationships. However, people are met with more and more disappointment because the reality is they're not experiencing these relationships to the same degree that they attributed said meaning to. Okay. So, what do we do with this? Right. Well, that's just part of the dating app, statistics, just a few that gives you. So, I want to pull up a few more statistics that I think are important to highlight just to kind of get a consensus of where people are coming from. The good in dating apps. Okay. The good in dating apps. And I want to pull this up really quickly. All right. Okay. Trying to find it. Trying to find it. Uh just typing it up really quickly. Give me a second here. Um but I do want to ask this in intermission. All right. Um is this making sense so far? Is this making sense so far about what we're talking about? Seems like there's a general consensus, right? People are experiencing fatigue. All right. People are worn down, putting a lot of effort into creating matches only to not find them, right? And eventually, if they do find them, it falls short. Okay. And people are just putting themselves in positions over and over again to want to experience the type of relationship that they feel like is either impossible, can't be found, right? Or maybe they start believing that they can't have it. It's not for them. Okay. So as this stuff is pulling up, I is there are there any questions that come up for you guys as you're listening to these kind of things? Is this maybe for you affirm, hey, this is kind of why I don't use dating apps. This is kind of why I don't get on it because of the very things that you just listed. Now with a little bit of resources behind them, or is it something that's like, okay, yeah, that's cool, but maybe I've had some different experiences outside of, um, you know, what's being described. If you have any thoughts, fill that in. And I do want to take a quick intermission and answer this question from earlier. All right. Shout out to Chiara in the chat who asked, oh, I'm finding it. I'm finding it. I'm finding it. Hold up. Yeah, I had to scroll up quite a bit. Appreciate all the love and the likes, Glitzy. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to everybody else watching, whether you're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, be sure to like the video, share it with others. You're probably gonna want to save this video for later, because this is all gonna be a part of the journey to understanding. Hey, are dating apps something that we should actually use? Is it something that's beneficial? Um, is it something that we can actually win with, gain with? Okay, all the things. Chiara asks, my boyfriend is very sweet, says he loves me, but he watches too much corn. Place the C with the P. What to do? I don't like that. And then I think she later mentioned that there's some avoidant attachment that she might be having as well. So, no, that's a good question. I think number one, are you guys? I have a few follow up questions. Number one, are you guys or you said boyfriend, so I was just about to ask that, so asked and answered. I think my only question is, even though it's an issue, um, so number one, I know you don't like that, and I know the abundance of reasons why you don't like that, nor, and not nor, and that makes a lot of sense. Why that would be a struggle to navigate through. I want to ask you this because I think if you ask a lot of people, they might be like, "Oh yeah, that's good enough reason to leave them." Um, I'm someone who has seen and experienced people who are creating and have seen people around me that I trust who have had long lasting relationships and marriages, who came in with a barrage of struggles, porn, corn being one of those things for some, and they made it through. So it's not something, number one, that would that well, let me say it like this: depending on how the person responds to the addiction, will determine whether or not it's something that can stand, right, the test of time. If it's a relationship that can really be built on. I think my biggest question for you is, do you have the capacity to support this person as they're navigating through the healing of that experience, of that wound? Okay. Well, how do I measure capacity, Sean? Well, that's a good question. So of course, when we talk about capacity, we're defining it as the measure, the ability to withhold something. Okay. So anybody who is going through an addiction of some sort, we know that the process is going to include them in one way or another making mistakes along the way as they're healing. These mistakes are not necessarily covered in all things, but we can acknowledge that part of healing that what may include some relapses, right? We can, talk about some of those thoughts and perspectives, reasons, the deeper wounds. Okay. Um, and when I say capacity, it also means giving ourselves the permission and ability to look beyond the surface, because that struggle is not just surfaced. There's a lot more deeper that's going on. The addiction is just the symptom. Okay, there's a rooted cause to that symptom that he has to be willing to be curious about and come to a decision to want to heal. Right. So there's not much you can do if he's not willing to engage in the healing process from that. Right. And it all comes down to a matter of if they want to. Does he want to overcome that addiction? Okay. And if the answer is yes, then I think how you deal with that is being curious enough to understand not just where it comes from for him. And I'm not telling you to become his personal coach or therapist. I just think there's some conversations that you want to create a safe space to cultivate with him, that gives him an opportunity to unpack those things, not so that you hold it, but so that it's a legitimate conversation to understand more about it. And then I think the biggest question that you have to ask him is, what can you do to help him through this process? What does it look like? Right? I could give you a lot of tips and tricks on this because this is not the first time I've encountered something like this. But I do think it's important to ask, hey, how can I best help this person? And have that conversation with them. Okay. Um, because, that is a struggle. And I am not someone that is a proponent of bringing that stuff into marriage. Although I recognize too, man, like, is best case scenario is, prior to marriage, yeah, you do want to deal with that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody can't get married with those issues. um just recognize that it's going to take a little bit longer of a journey to overcome, because marriage doesn't solve that. Having a girlfriend or boyfriend doesn't solve that, right? It only makes that appetite more insatiable, right? One of the biggest lies that you'll ever hear somebody who's addicted to that stuff say is that once they have somebody, they won't need it. That's a lie. You're talking to somebody who was once addicted, to that. I think I typically say roughly 7 years of my life addicted to that stuff. That came from fear of missing out, um, loneliness, that came from, all the different things. And honestly, to a degree, trying to overcome the perspective of somebody perceiving me to be homosexual. Like, that was something that was thrown my direction when I was in high school. And like, to beat those allegations and navigate that out of my mind, I was like, oh no, 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 no. So I'm going to talk the talk. I'm going to walk the walk. I'm going to act like I do all these things, because if she perceives that, who else does? And that was something that I fought for a long time. And I had to be honest about that. So self awareness is necessary. And of course, as a result, like, engage in the healing process of recognizing that not everybody's perspective of me and perception of me comes from a healed, clear lens. Like, that comment came from someone seeing me not do what all the other guys did around me, walking girls to classrooms and all the things. I didn't have girlfriends in high school. I was a part of a very strict home. I wasn't allowed to date. And so that stuff wasn't flying, right? But I was quickly defined based off of my surroundings where that came from. So when I became honest about that and what I was seeing, man, that produced a lot of freedom. because that me going to that was trying to disprove something that I knew wasn't true about me, but I had to put it, but in my mind, from places of people pleasing and all the things, was trying to prove to other people, hey, this isn't who I am, right? And you know, healing through that, recovering from that, beautiful thing. But it was a process too. And no, I wasn't dating anyone. Definitely wasn't married, not married. So like I didn't have all that extra, maybe external pressure to maybe hurry and deal with that. But I think that's the beauty in dealing with that in a season of singleness and healing. Now, if you're in a relationship and you find these things out, it's not to say that you can't experience that healing. It just takes a little longer. Maybe not even necessarily a little longer, it takes more effort. And so I think for you, Chiara, you have to ask yourself, one, do I have the capacity to support this person's journey through this? You guys are dating, you're not married. If it's a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker. But I also think too, man, like if you realize there's a lot of actual good qualities about this individual, things that are in alignment with who you are and where you want to go and the life you want to build, the relationship you want to have, he's in alignment with your values. Okay. And from a place of your values, it makes sense to remain in this relationship. This is just a issue that has come about that you learn and now have to learn to navigate through. It just takes honesty, and it takes honesty and your willingness to show up in those spaces in a healthy way. And that's all predicated on his willingness to show up and do the work, because you can't deliver him from that. Like he has to be someone who shows up and engages in the processes to heal that, which means he has to be the one to abide by all the restrictions and all the, unfollowing accounts and the firewalls and the music he listens to, all the things that can play a role in tempting him to engage with it. He has to be someone who makes a decision. And there will come time. I really do believe, now this isn't everybody's story. I think cold turkey is an exception to the rule. It's not the rule. So typically the rule is anybody healing through struggles like that, yeah, they're gonna have moments where they might relapse. But here's the thing: can you be, and this is also part of the capacity, can you become that person who is safe enough to where when they're about to fall or they already did, that they can trust to come to you and talk to you about it, right? And that all is about your tone, your approach, your language, the sensitivity to which you handle this issue, which sometimes for some people can be asking a lot, because at the same time we're trying to manage, man, all the weight that we feel we're carrying as it relates to engaging at this with this person and the issues presented. And so, yeah, those are my initial thoughts, Shiara. And there definitely are nuances to it. And so, just because it's very limited, all right. Those are my thoughts, and I hope that made sense. Put a one in the chat for all of you who are listening. Does that make sense? Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. I was trying to use um I was trying to use the different verbiage. Sis, I appreciate you, Susie. I was talking about porn. Yeah. Shout out to everybody in the chat. What's up, everybody over on Instagram? How y'all living? Today's conversation is centered on dating apps and the dating app dilemma. Just going over some statistics. Took a brief intermission to answer some questions. Um, so I appreciate y'all. Um, yeah, Susie. Yeah. That's what we're talking about there. Yeah, if he wants to heal, there's a lot you can do. But if he doesn't, if he's like, yeah, I think he doesn't see it as a problem. He said it's normal for a man. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if that's where he's at with it, then we do have to be honest and say, okay, well, this isn't exceptional for me when it comes to doing relationships. And if you're suggesting that this is a normal thing and you don't see an issue with it, and you're not someone who wants to put in the healthy work to overcome it, then because you're in a dating stage, like, hey, listen, don't feel like you have to tie yourself to that. Um, don't feel like you have to see it through. Um, there are plenty of people who look at that as a non-negotiable. That's an issue. Can't deal with it. Um, but I've also seen amazing relationships and healthy relationships where women had the capacity and they were like, yeah, I can, because this person wants to do better though. Like this person is like, I want to overcome this issue. I want to deal with it. I see how it's impacting the relationship, how it can have a negative effect on me, and so I want to do those things. And you know, they were able to grow and see it through. So I think, yeah, but that all is dependent on him and his willingness to show up and do the healthy work. Okay. I really, really hope That makes sense. In my limited experience, the men only want to hook up, not meaningful connection. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm coming back. Do you think abstaining from sex from a long for a time can help? Is was a two-part question. Oh, what if the person is already married? Oh, okay. And we're talking about the same thing, Susie. Like we're talking about porn and all the things. Is that the topic? Um, what if you're already married and is abstaining from sex? Like the answer to that? Would it help? Okay, got you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I think there's a. So I want to answer this with the level of nuance that I think it deserves, but I don't have enough time to dive all into it. So I think from the basis of it though, like that, the addiction and the struggle to it that of course comes with it, man, there's a lot of unfair expectations put on each other, right? To live up to a fantasy that just doesn't match who you are as people, let alone what you've created in the relationship. And so without going too deep into what's underneath the symptoms, um, I just think it probably will undoubtedly affect the intimacy that's created. Now, if you read certain books from therapists and sex therapists and all these credentialed people, they have clients who have invited that stuff in, and it's spiced up the bedroom and all those kind of things. That's not everybody though. I'm not someone who is going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, invite that stuff into your marriage because I just don't think it's beneficial. I really don't. So I think it will undoubtedly impact the intimacy that you both share in the bedroom. Um, but is abstaining from sex the answer? I really think it depends. I don't know if I can give a clear definitive answer of it is or it isn't. I really think it depends because perhaps depending on the situation in the couple, the reason why they're going to corn is because there is a lack of safety and intimacy within their spouse. And well, then now if we say we're going to abstain from sex altogether, well, that I think can just affirm that lack of safety. It doesn't affirm that there is safety. And that's an issue. Like if we're married and I would rather go do this than be connected with you, there's a few things that are a real struggle internally. And that doesn't necessarily always mean that it's we don't have to associate blame to anyone if that's not the case, but there's a lack of safety somewhere. Like I don't think I should want to go watch that and engage in that and not want to have fun with you. Like I don't think that makes too much sense. So yeah, I think it's a nuanced conversation and it depends on the couple that would be sitting in front of me. What's the core issue? What's the real struggle? Where is the lack of safety really at? That is making us look at that option and say, yeah, what is frequency? What do you mean? What is like the frequency of coming together? Is that what you're referring to? The frequency of coming together, or the frequency of using corn? And I definitely want to finish up these thoughts here. So we're going to come back and circle back to a lot of this. I'm going to finish this up. Um, ooh, Lord. These are some interesting thoughts. Is the issue is they're not having sex as often as they would like? Oh, like is that the issue? Well, if that no, yeah, yeah. So okay, if we're talking about that being the issue, again, I mean, just to peel the onion back, I would ask why, right? Like every day. Okay. Yeah. So, or every other day. Okay. Yeah. So I think, so, okay. So if we're talking about that, well, I think that's definitely dependent on the couple, right? That's definitely dependent on the couple. Um, Because then we get into conversations on sex drive, um, talking about high and low libidos, that we don't necessarily want to use as language to cover up what's really at the core for some couples. Because sometimes it's not necessarily about high and low libido. Sometimes it's about I don't feel safe, so why would I engage in this, right? If like I legitimately don't feel safe with the person that is wanting me to engage with them this way, right? So I think that's definitely dependent on couples. There are some couples who are like, yeah, bro, we we get it on every day of the week. Um, yeah. So, and if you don't get it, then you go to corn, right? So again, the question becomes, what I would do if I was sitting in front of a couple, I would ask, hey, so what about what need are you satisfying by going to that, right? What's that exchange about? And we just unpack that, because on the surface we look at that and be like, okay, they just were really horny or whatever the case was, but sometimes there's more to it. And so that's why I'm saying we want to have and open up those conversations in a different way. um, and I think it just depends on the couple. There are some couples who are like, yeah, we have sex regularly every day. Sometimes it's like, hey, mandatory 3 times a week. They're putting it on calendars, all the things, and you know, whatever floats your boat, right? But I do think, yeah, I think there's just so much nuance to that. If it's from childhood, it's hard to stop. I think it's as hard as people will make it, as people will make it. Um, I think sometimes when we use when we use the verbiage something is hard, that almost gives our brain a reason to stay in a place of comfortability and lacking challenge. Like if it's hard, then this is where I'm going to be at forever. Or this is really difficult to navigate and overcome. So due to the level of difficulty, I'm better off not engaging. Now that's not to say that it isn't hard. I'm not trying to dismiss that. There is very very legitimacies to the level of difficulty people are describing. I'm just not someone who's quick to say it's hard, because what is hard to someone, what is hard to one person may not be as hard to others, right? And I love what Nigel said. We choose our hard, right? We choose it. I like that a lot, and it's just a habit. Yeah, again, I think it's such a nuanced conversation. If I were sitting in front of a couple and porn is the issue, corn, whatever you want to call it, okay, cool. If that's the issue at the center, um, I'm not necessarily going to begin those conversations addressing the symptom that is the addiction. I want to get to to what's beneath, because that's really what's pushing it. Because for some people, it's not that they have the same conditions, but they don't go to corn; they go to something else. So it's like, okay, well, let's just get to the root. Let's get to the root. And in what way, shape, or form has that root shown up in this connection, in this marriage, that has created a sense of unsafetyness between the two of you? Yeah, I get you. I get you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to be careful too. Um, so but yeah, that would be how I would answer it off rip. But there definitely is more on that conversation, and maybe that's a future live. How to navigate that? Because again, I've seen it where it's an issue, and people are like, "Yeah, that's it for me. I'm gone." And then I've seen it. I've seen it. I've listened to it. I mean, marriages, relationships that have been tested in those ways, and they made it through. They became more connected because there was more safety involved. And really the biggest issue was not even that they wanted to sometimes go to that. They just felt like this was their escape. This was their escape plan, and they did not feel safe enough to tell their spouse because of previous issues and moments that even had nothing to do with what they're struggling with. They were like, fam, I saw them go off like that, so I don't want to be on the brunt end of that. And yeah, I'll just figure it out. But in the process of figuring it out, they don't know what to do, so they just stay put. And I think those kind of shifts of perspectives helps us tremendously, because now I'm not attributing you to be the bad guy, the enemy, the villain. Like now we're trying to get somewhere, and curiosity makes all the difference. I don't know if y'all have watched the show Couples Therapy. Maybe I'm just that kind of nerd. Just because this is I'm in coaching. I'm definitely not a therapist. I'm in coaching, but that show is amazing. Um, regardless of what you agree with, regardless of what you where you stand on. I think that show is amazing. And there was a couple, I think, in the recent season where, you know, dude was dude is married, and I think he was engaging in cuddle sessions that turned into like an actual physical intimate moment with somebody, that resulted in him cheating on his wife, and she found out, and maybe it was part of the agreement, I don't know, but they ended up here in therapy. And again, it's not to excuse the behavior, because we recognize the behavior is crazy, but so far from what I've watched in that show, and listening to him go down the rabbit hole of things, even dating back to his experiences in childhood and all the things and how that's showing up in the marriage, there was such a unique moment that they shared that, if I'm being honest, they probably, I don't know, because I don't know them, but just from that exchange, it seemed like that's something that maybe didn't happen as often before they got there into that session. And that was just them seeing each other, holding each other. They were in a very sensitive moment where there were a lot of things that were exposed that either, he wasn't comfortable saying, didn't know how to say, and she didn't know. And that moment brought them so close together. And I'm like, yo, that, to me as a coach, man, being on one end and seeing that happen between couples as I'm counseling or whatever the case is, like, that's a goal, man, to be able to allow people to navigate through these things and come back together in a form of reconciliation. Now, granted, this healing work can easily break up a lot of people, because you learn the foundation that you connected on wasn't healthy. But that's why I tell people, don't necessarily go to therapy, coaching, counseling thinking that it's going to save your relationship, because you walk into that mug, and if you're honest, it might create a great divide, and you have to be open to that. If you really want the healing work, you got to be open to that, and not be so afraid of that. But yeah, I just thought that was such a special moment, and that's what I'm saying. Like, when I say things are possible to recover, to overcome, to engage, to navigate, it's a different world, man. It's a different world, but it does it in order to get there, it takes a lot. I won't play that. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. All right. So I hope that made sense. We're gonna quickly transition, because I got to get out of here um, in time. All right. So we talked a little bit earlier about some of the challenges to dating apps, right? A lot of the percentages, the burnout, the fatigue, where it's coming from, all the things. So now I want to kind of give you a few thoughts on, maybe some more positive experiences or directions from dating apps, okay? And what some studies, statistics, and people have to say on it. All right. Again, this is not designed to sway you to use dating apps. My mission is not to push you to make a decision to take dating apps, to use them. Again, I have my thoughts on them. We're going to come back and circle around on them. If you have been around on my content for any length of time, I would say over the last, well, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years, I've had some content where I've talked about them, my personal experience of them, my perspective on them, and we'll open up to that. But again, we're just setting the beginning foundations to those usages for those of you who are single and are dating. This is not for you who are married. All right, y'all need to get it together. All right. So, um, and I think some of these thoughts actually will kind of align more of some of my perspectives on them, because sometimes we look at dating apps and we're like, yo, like, this is supposed to be the cream of the crop. This is supposed to be all in all. And I think, as often as I tell people, hey, these are like exposure tools. These are beginning steps. This is a beginning aspect. This is not supposed to stand as like the ultimate end all be all, right? We are not to cling to dating apps as a form of, hey, like, if I use it, I'm guaranteed to get my spouse. I'm guaranteed to get what I'm after and what I'm wanting, or that every match and every conversation is just supposed to go so perfectly, right? It's supposed to be a beginning step, or at least that was maybe in the minds of people who created them. Okay, I'll just say it like that. So here's a few things that I want you to keep in mind from perspectives and statistics a little bit on dating apps from more of the opposite direction. Number one is that dating apps expand the dating pool beyond normal life. Okay. All right. So for those of you who like to go in person, y'all like to step out every weekend, put yourself in physical places, you know, uh, this is a way in which you can probably experience the dating aspect and format a little bit more efficiently, because of who you're able to weed out and who you're able to connect with and who you are able to share moments in time with. Okay. From a more, you know, social media aspect. All right. Um, the biggest legitimate positive, right? So they break people out of the limits of your church, job, friend group, city, gym, social circle. Okay, if we're all honest, we only go to certain places every day. Some of y'all go to work and home. Some of y'all go to work, gym, home. Some of y'all go to work, gym, church, home, right? That's your week to week basis. You don't really step out, go places, experience, meet people. You're not really a social butterfly. And for a lot of you, and this is something that I've actually encouraged clients before, because one, you haven't been on a date, but yet you want a romantic relationship, you want marriage, but you haven't really been dating, or whatever beliefs that are around there. Something that I have encouraged clients to do, okay, just as an initial step, because we just want to get you out there, get on a dating app. I'm not saying you have to. Okay, if you don't want to, cool. Appreciate you so much, Glitzy. Thank you so much for the 10K. Thank y'all for the 10K likes, man. Y'all smash that like button, Glitzy. I appreciate you a ton. MVP. MVP. Thank you so much over on TikTok. Um, like I've suggested, like, hey, like you should check it out, right? Check out the dating app. However, it's not a mandatory thing, right? Um, but it does expand you and push you outside of a little comfort zone. What's up, Andy? How you living, sis? It does push you a little bit out of your comfort zone. Okay. You're used to going to church, friend groups, all the things. This time you're put in a position to where, you go out and you meet new people, you meet new directions, go to new places, all the things. Okay. So this is actually something that's interesting. Stanford sociologist, okay, Michael Rosenfield, okay, don't really know who he is, but this is something that came up. Found that by 2017, 39% of heterosexual couples reported meeting online, compared to 22% in 2009. Okay. And so that's very interesting. All right. People's offline dating pool is a lot smaller than they think. Okay. So when you say things like there's nobody out here, what you mean is like there's nobody in your immediate routine, your immediate circle. Right. I'm good, Andy. How are you? Finishing up a little bit of a stream, talking about dating apps. I'd love to hear your thoughts and perspectives on it. So, like, when you say there's no one out here, it's really like, nah, it's just no one's really in my immediate vicinity, right? All these men are, insert the description. All these women, man, I just can't stand them, right? But it's like, well, where are you going? Who are you around? Right? And it's more like the people that you're experiencing, not necessarily that this is a representation of all people, of all men, all women, so on and so forth. Okay. What's up, Mando? Good to see you. Um, and so that's the first thing. All right. Geographics do matter. Geographics do matter, right? Now, I'm not telling you that you got to get up and move someplace. All right. But like we definitely want to be curious. Like, okay, this is kind of the person, the type of people I meet over here. Where is that at? All right. Now, just sharing some thoughts. Okay. Now the second thing is recognizing that apps have become a normal relationship pathway. All right. Now realize how it says apps. All right, because I do think there is a world where you can look at Instagram, Facebook as dating apps. Facebook actually has its own like dating app setting, I think. But Instagram, Instagram is probably one of the biggest dating apps out here, right? It's just you ain't gonna see it under the dating apps if you search it in your app store. But Instagram is like, I'm going on your profile, I see your pictures, I see what you look like, I see what you do, and I'm gonna send a message. Is that not a dating app? I would agree it is, right? People have their own opinions on it, but here's something: social media is definitely dating. Come on, I appreciate y'all, right? So check this out. Pew, which is a Pew research, okay, found that 30% of U.S. adults have used a dating site or app, okay, and among adults under 30, that rises to 53%, okay, and we do open the door to long distance relationships, right? We do open the door to long distance relationships. And this is something that I tell people often, like, hey, we probably want to be mindful. Okay. We probably want to be mindful of like, hey, do I have the capacity for long distance? Now, not everybody you meet online is going to be long distance, but same principle applies. Like, do I have the capacity to actually engage in that? More couples are getting married from dating apps. We're going to come to that statistic here in just a little bit. Okay. Um, and I'm gonna be honest. I think especially if you really want to do recent research, like over the last 6 years, when the pandemic happened, the usage of dating apps skyrocketed because we couldn't go nowhere. Now the usage of them probably welcomed in more people who were not valid options, 1,000%. Low barrier of entry, as we talked about last stream, absolutely. But that does not necessarily mean like, yo, yeah, yeah. Bakushi, man, I appreciate you, man. Send me a message. We're gonna wrap up this stream here soon. Sounds like there's a lot going on. Maybe there's an opportunity for us to process it. I can also send you a link to book a session too. But just send me a message, man. I think we could probably get some conversation going in the DMs for sure. Send me a message. So that's the first thing that there's a couple things I want you to consider. Okay. So one, dating apps expand the dating pool beyond your normal life. And then apps honestly have just become a normal relationship pathway. Okay. You might not meet somebody on a dating app, but you'll meet them on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, X. Okay. Snapchat. Like I think it's actually pretty amazing. I got rid of Snapchat. I stopped using Snapchat easily. Was that, I want to say 2020? Like when I was in middle of college, I was like, man, I don't be talking to a lot of people on that. I think I got to the point where I think I was doing a challenge or a program or something. And I was like, there was a day where we were deleting apps and cleaning storage, and I deleted that and I never went back. So it is amazing to me that I see a lot of people use Snapchat still. I kind of thought it was more of like a, if you were in high school, maybe early couple years of college, yeah, that's your field. But there's 30-year-olds that are on Snapchat. I think that's just interesting. It's not right or wrong. I just think it's interesting. I ain't gonna get on no Snapchat. But that's you. Hey, you got it. Um, so now let's look at number three. Now this is interesting. Now this is from 2020 report, but many users report positive experiences. So a Pew's 2020 report found that 50% of online daters, 57% of online daters describe their experience as very or somewhat positive. And it also found that 12% of US adults had married or entered a committed relationship with someone they first met through a dating site or app, and 23% had gone on a date with someone they met through one. Now, again, I don't know if you necessarily hear these kind of perspectives from people that might like jump the gun and be like dating apps are trash. Like they probably won't tell you that there are people who are getting married. Now, I'm not saying it's the rule, okay, but I do think it's something that we include in this conversation. All right. There are people who have met and have now, again, like I said, and there are people who have won the lottery. Right. There are people who, you know, have bumped into their significant other at a random grocery store trip. Right. So like we're not necessarily saying that that's the end all be all, but I do think it is maybe for once, but not really any regrets. So I tried dating apps one time, never again. Yeah, I think you're not alone, Shanae. There's a lot of people there. I think share as much as you'd like. I would love to know, right? Like, even though you said you tried it and you would never do it again, why never again? Why never again? Um, and he wants to be a, yeah. It sounds like there's a lot going on. Don't stop believing. Um, I don't know the full context, so I don't know if I'll jump the gun to give a thought there. If you have a more specific question or more context to share, please do. I saw the string of questions from Crispy. Um, yeah, man, you did, man. Send me, we're gonna come back around to answering some of these. Let me get through this. Y'all stick around, and I got you. Okay. So number four, relationships formed through apps can be similar in quality to offline relationships. Okay. So in 2024, a 2024 study in social sciences compared relationship quality among college students who met partners through dating apps versus in person. And this study didn't find a significant difference between current or former relationships formed through dating apps and those formed face to face. The Author's conclusion was that relationships formed through dating apps may be comparable in quality to in-person relationships. So there's some level of different comparabilities. Okay, it's no real difference. All right, someone you connected with online versus someone who you connected with in person. So this kind of already, if we're being honest, this does challenge the perspective where people might say, "Well, I want to meet someone authentic. I want to meet someone organically." Is really more so the terminology, right? I want to meet someone organically. But if we're being honest, a lot of people who say they want to meet somebody organically, you don't even get out enough. You order your groceries to your front door. You don't even go up the street to go get your Chipotle. You put an order in through DoorDash. So it's like we can't have our cake and eat it too. Now again, this is pushing it back a little bit, but if we're going to say we want something organic, you have to build the muscle somehow to put yourself in position to be seen. And I don't think there's been an easier time of life in the history of life to do this as easily as going on apps. Now, again, you might not say, and just talking to God, I came to that social media is fine though. And that's exactly where I was going, Shanae, right? Like you might not put yourself on a legitimate, like, all right, I'm gonna go on the app store and download Hinge, download Tinder, download BOK, download this, then Upward, Holy app. I don't know, however many others are there. You may not actually do that, but you will create an Instagram. Still a dating app, right? Like it counts. Like it's okay. It counts. We can make it, right? We can make it. However, you know, just something to consider. Um, and I think that's something there. All right. App relationships can include serious long-term intentions. Okay, that's another thought there too. I won't go too deep into that. Although it does kind of challenge the aspect that dating apps are only for hookups. We can't keep that sentiment if the statistics reveal that even as low as 12% of people have gotten married to someone they met through an app, and 23% have gotten into committed relationships meeting someone through an app. So we can't use the terminology as strongly. Are there apps only designed for hookups? Yes, very true. But I think maybe two things can be true. People have used the apps for hookups, and okay, some people, and I love what you're saying, Shanae. Come on, man. Like I get that. I tried only Facebook dating, met some great people. I enjoyed the experience and learned how to vet. Y'all, I'm telling you, like sometimes we think, and this is okay. So y'all probably are going to get a little taste of my perspective on this whole conversation. All right, just a little bit, and I'm cool with being disagreed with. Like I'm not here to sway you either way. Okay, but I just want to put some stuff in front of you for you to make a decision. All right, but like we can only do so much studying and intellectualizing before we start putting something to the test. I don't care what it is. Okay. If you're someone who doesn't know how to swim and you want to learn how to swim, you can only read instructions, tips, tricks on how to swim so much before you get in a body of water, whether it's at your local YMCA or an ocean, and learn how to swim. Okay. If it's riding a bike, same thing. Shooting a basketball, same thing. Okay. And if we apply it there, we also apply it to various lanes of our relationships. There's only so much you're going to be able to read on before you put it into application. Why does that matter here? Because some of us get on these things and on these conversations, and there's a lot of different beliefs that are at the center of it. And that's something that we're going to get into because we're going to have a conversation on the various beliefs that have formed about dating apps. And it may not necessarily be so much statistic as much as it is from what I've seen from my work that I'll share with you. But like there's a we can't move with this aspect of I'm just going to study and read and intellectualize all these things about vetting processes, using wisdom, discernment, all the key spiritual languages that we'll use, and then not put ourselves in positions to put those things to the test. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to a dating app to do those things. There's plenty of areas in your life where you can apply this and learn this and it doesn't involve dating apps, right? But for those of you who are wanting to get into a relationship and there's a part of you that's like, yo, I'm really drained, really tired, no one's meeting the expectations. We have gotten to a place from this microwave society that we want everything fast and done quickly, instantly. And so we've lost the touch of learning how to vet. How else are you going to learn how to vet if you don't put yourself in positions to be able to listen to what somebody is saying, look at how somebody's presenting themselves, and make a decision, right? Especially if you're somebody who doesn't get out. Like, you can't be someone who doesn't get out and then be like, you know, dating apps aren't for me. Well, what is for you? What is for you? If you are wanting to date somebody and be in an intentional relationship and you don't go out for whatever reservations and you're against dating apps, fam, you're going to be single forever. I'm sorry to tell you, because God ain't going to just deliver somebody to your front door like it's a UPS package. And you've already said that your church ain't a whole lot of people up there. So where are you going? Right? And like that is kind of like the direction that I take with it. And again, I'm not saying it has to be directly through a dating app. But if we're being honest, Instagram is a form of that too. Now, if you don't want to see it that way, cool. I'm not here to argue with you. But I do think it's something that we have to consider. I've had people before, hey man, I want to meet somebody organically, all the things. I'm like, bro, I get you. Sis, I get you. Here's the thing though. Like, what are the chances of you meeting somebody organically at your local grocery store compared to you getting online and being intentional about what you're looking at, what you're wanting, what you see, and vetting that process out? How much more volume of an opportunity do you have to find who you're looking for? And we're not telling, we're not giving access to everybody, right? And that's another conversation for another stream. Trust me, y'all. I got it. I got it all backed up. I don't know how long this series gonna go. Okay, it could go 10 parts. It could. Okay, but we gonna unpack it. All right, but that's just something else to consider. All right. Obviously, you talk about the increase in diversity. All right. If you're somebody who lives in an in a one race only area, right? Well, if you get on social media, you get on dating apps, obviously it increases the diversity of who you experience. Okay. And so that is very true. So then of course you're opening yourself up to, different cultures, backgrounds, people that you didn't even know really existed until you met them there. You're like, oh snap, it's people like you. Okay, dope. Right. And so that's interesting as well. All right. Um, and now this is something that people are also maybe mentioning. Men shoot their shot all the time on social media. I just think women need to respond to DMs too. Come on, Shanae, you talking that talk? You talking that talk? We're gonna talk about it, right? It's the same thing on dating apps. It's the same thing everywhere, right? Like if you match, if you connect with somebody, what? So we just gonna not say nothing, right? I saw a video the other day where a girl was like, unpopular, hot take, but like, she wasn't. She's basically saying she's not on the bandwagon of like guys have to be the ones to initiate her first. Like she's like, if you see something and you want it, go get it. I'm like, sis, cheers to you, because you get it. Right. I've had a lot of conversations with people who, again, it's all centered on programming, right? It's all centered on programming. We're not here to poke holes in it and say who's right and who's wrong. But if we're going to make the most out of our experiences, um, if we're being honest, there are some beliefs and programs that you've been cultivated by that told you that you initiating a conversation meant you were the one pursuing. I solely disagree. Solely disagree. You just initiated and started the conversation. That doesn't mean that you became the man and he became the woman. That doesn't mean you became the pursuer and he became the one that was receiving the pursuit. Because if we really want to talk about dating and dating intentionally and healthily, for men especially, a man that actually feels confident, well, not confidence, but I think if you want to actually infuse a level of confidence into the guy or person you're dating, ladies, like you have to give him some kind of signaling response that you're welcoming to his attempts. If you don't do that when he's attempting to, whatever it is, if it's paying for a date, if it's bringing flowers, if it's just talking, communicating, starting conversation, like if you don't give an opening signal to that, he's not gonna keep going. He just gonna look at you and be like, yeah, all right. So it's like, yeah, you have to give some type of signal that you're welcoming and you are wanting more of what's happening. It may not come directly from you saying it, although some can, and that's also appreciated. But there's got to be some kind of response that you give to the attempts. Something. It can't just be. It can't be nothing, and it for sure can be minimizing it in any kind of way. Okay. So I want to bring these things up to a halt real quick, and finish this out strong. So the eighth part, or not eighth, maybe this is the sixth or seventh thing that we're mentioning, is that it reduces uncertainty before a first date. Okay, now a lot of people are looking for some level of certainty, and so that's why, not just dating apps and relationships altogether, but everything you do, right? Yeah, there's just, I want to lower the risk. I want to lower the risk that I'm going on a first date with somebody that's crazy and that ain't got what they say they have, right? So I want to do background checks. I want to check socials. I want to do all the things appropriately before going on there, right? Dating apps can be a place, okay, that does that. That's not to say that that is 100% accurate. I mean, there's plenty of people who have been catfished, who have been lied to, all the things. But again, this is why we vet things out. And this is why we build a tension of healing where we pay attention to what someone and a girl may call intuition, what some people may call some other things. I call listening to the very Holy Spirit given. Like we want to vet that out, right? If something don't feel right, we shouldn't go with it, but let's vet it out, right? It's part of vetting. I am not gonna run to a first date with somebody I match or connect with. I'm not doing it. You're going to go through a process. We're going to match, have some conversation. If it's flowing, I extend my number. Hey, let's have a FaceTime date, right? Let's actually get on the phone. Can we even have a conversation on the phone? Because if we can't, what in the world are we going to do in person? What are we going to do? Right? So there's a pathway that we want to engage with, and we don't want to rush that because, oh, this person is just so cute, so fine. I don't know if I find anybody better than this. Nah, fam. Slow down. Slow down. All right. So this is honestly an underappreciated perspective, right? Because you just get access to basic information. Okay. A lot of people, again, if you're a believer, hey, well, I guess I'll go find my spouse at church. Right. And I love it. Yeah, absolutely, Shanae. Because I need to know if you're crazy before I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So a lot of believers are like, yo, if I want to go date, I'll just go to church. But you go to your local church and there ain't a whole lot of options. Right. Well, gratefully, that's not where all the only believing men are present. Right. And so if you get online, that gives you an opportunity to look at, okay, because somehow what someone posts, what someone likes, what someone reposts, all those things, who they follow, that tells you a lot about who this person is and what they're around, what they consume. You're learning a lot of different things. Okay. And so it definitely can help you to know, all right, is this, I can definitely, again, if you get on dating apps, you can actually go to your settings and adjust the settings of who or the type of people you want on your algorithm. So you can say, hey, I only want people who align in the faith. Okay. So if I'm looking for just Christians, and that doesn't mean that everybody who puts Christian in their bio is Christian. Yes, we get that. But this is why we build the muscle of discernment. Just like not every pastor, preacher, podcaster, coach is coming to you from a faith filled, healthy, aligned perspective. So what do? We don't just get rid of them all. We don't just, you know, we are outnumbered. We can't do that. So what is it? What does it depend on? It depends on me. What rightly dividing the word, knowing what is aligned in truth, right? Having my alignment in order. So when I come to social media and I may not be able to control that the first person I saw was somebody that was a false teacher prophet. Okay, well, let's actually, learn these things so I can rightly divide it. That's how you know you got real love in you. Man, I don't want to start that conversation. Because I think we're running. I think what the issue for a lot of people, and this isn't even necessarily just to dating apps. I think it's just everything in general. We are in a position in a lot of places where we have simply been damaged so much that we just don't know what it looks like to build a sense of self trust, and not just self trust, but believe what we're seeing and what we're hearing. when it comes to walking with God, engaging with God, and being a community of faith filled people. Like, we just have lost a sense of being able to trust the decisions that we can make and what we're seeing. And if we develop that, I promise y'all, dating apps has a whole different feel to it. And you don't have to, you don't feel like everybody who isn't fit, you know, shouldn't be on there. You don't got to put no rules like, oh, if you're not this and this, then, you shouldn't be on dating apps and all the kind of things. Like, if you just know who you are and in alignment, you can actually engage in these spaces, not need all these boundaries, know what you're looking for, know you're moving from a healed place, and weed it out because you can see it from a mile away. Lion Man ain't gonna stop my show. I heard that. Come on. Okay. So, like, yeah, it just reduces the uncertainty before a first date. Okay. A profile can reveal values, lifestyle, whether they desire kids, smoking and drinking habits, what religion are they a part of, interests. Okay. You may not get that from a whole Instagram bio, TikTok bio, right? Maybe from their post and what they're sharing, but all of it works. Okay. And it takes time. Be intentional, but be patient. I got a few more. All right, I'll speed run through these. Online communication, mm, they have a study where it shows they can predict first date success. So, a 2017 longitudinal study by Shirabai and Coughlin examined people before and after first dates with someone they met online. And so the study found that first date success was predictable from online impressions and relational dynamics before meeting. So this kind of goes into what we were talking about earlier. Like, hey, I'm not rushing to get into a first date with you, but hey, let's actually have some conversation. Let's have some conversation. You're gonna shoot your shot in the DM, cool. Let's just shoot a message back and forth. You know, let's have some conversations there. Let's FaceTime. I'm a big, big fan of FaceTime. If you have a problem getting on FaceTime, then this ain't. Like, sometimes you just gotta look at it and be like, no. You know what I'm saying? This actually came from a study found, I believe it's in Illinois, Illinois University. This was a study done by them, the Communication, Social, and Behavioral Science Institute. Okay. Met him through TikTok. Come on, Glitzy. What predicts first date? Okay, I just want to read this out loud. Glitzy says, I'm actually talking to a good man right now. Met him through TikTok. Bada blam. What that's just a code word for amazing. What predicts first date success? All right, and so this abstract. Oh no, I can't actually fully. No, all right, I'm not gonna talk about it. I can't even fully access it. But it gave me the summary there, so we'll take it. So again, I think it just kind of goes back to, hey, when I can communicate with you online, I can meet you, I can have conversation with you, I can know the values, all the things. This is giving us an opportunity to be able to see what's really there before going on the full first date. All right. Now I think this is a very interesting one. This comes from Sage Journals as a resource. All right. um and we're going to check it out here for a second. So Sage Journals resource talks about the influence of dating app motivations and perceived success on psychological well-being. All right. I just want to go down to the results here. uh, ooh. Okay. Yeah. So this is like a whole study that they did. Okay. So I'm just going to read the conclusion here. Although I think they have some really good stuff that I can't really dive fully into right here. But this is actually something you can find on Sage Journals. They actually have the full study there. And for those of you on YouTube, I'll be sure to come back and link some of these resources in the chat so that way we have them. So the results of this short-term longitudinal panel study shed light on the multifaceted nature of online dating app use and its influence on users' feelings of loneliness and life satisfaction. Our findings attest to the importance of considering not only how individuals use online dating applications, but also their motivations for doing so and their perceived success in achieving their goals. Okay. Furthermore, they emphasize the need to investigate the relationship between online dating experiences and diverse indicators of psychological well-being. Understanding the ways in which participation in the online dating pool can come to either enhance or harm individual well being is an important direction for research as dating apps become more and more important to modern romance relationships. So I wanna read this section here. Dating app success and well-being. So controlling for the frequency of dating app use as well as dating app anxiety, the study demonstrated a positive outcome of perceived success of one's dating app experiences on reducing feelings of loneliness over time, confirming a positive social oriented goal achieved through online dating app use. Okay. Now, I am not saying that to solve now, hear me when I say this. I am not saying to get on dating apps to solve your loneliness. And I don't think that's what this study is saying so far, but just know that if it does, I don't agree. Solving your loneliness does not come from you getting on dating apps. Solving your loneliness oftentimes comes from you investigating, one, where is this loneliness even rooted from, comparison or other places, but then two, being willing to learn to enjoy your own company. It is very hard to experience a consistent form of loneliness when you enjoy your own company and you have your hands put to what is in front of you and what you're being called to do. I'm telling you right now, as somebody who is single, actively dating, all the things, I don't recall a day where I have felt lonely in the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years, because I started being intentional about my own time, what I enjoyed, okay, finding out what I liked. All you got to do is get me a bowl of kale and salmon and put me in front of a fresh Madden. And if you don't hear from me from days, just know I'm okay. Just know I'm okay. If you hear me, uh, if you don't hear from me for a few days, and hey, listen, I got a smoker, a grill in the backyard. Hey, if you don't hear from me, I'm grilling. Okay. Loneliness is not solved by you getting on a dating app. However, they are talking in this direction regarding, one's success on dating apps can reduce said loneliness over time. Okay. Um, this finding highlights the importance of outcomes and how people view the relationship between online dating and their well-being. In particular, people who perceive their online dating experiences. Look at this. People who perceive their online dating experiences as successful tend to experience an improvement in their psychological well-being and a decrease in feelings of loneliness. So I want y'all to be curious with me for a second, because this study will tell you perhaps that the telling of succession in dating apps is based on, did you get a date and did the date go well? Probably one of the two, right? Like, was it a match? Did you have good conversation? Did you go on the date? I'm going to challenge you and say that success on that isn't even predicated on that. Success is probably more so like, when they stopped talking to you, how did you handle it? When they rejected you, were you okay? When they unmatched, how did you feel? When they walked away and they no longer wanted to engage, how did you engage? How did you feel? Because to experience that from somebody that you haven't even fully known and still be crying about that for weeks on end, that that is something that we want to challenge, because we can't allow, because a lot of that isn't even coming from them, that's coming from unhealed wounds we still got to process. We don't hear it much, but women fear rejection too. Can I love that, Shanae. Can I just highlight this for a second? um Women fear rejection too, so they don't DM first. And you said something else to that. What do you think? No, I agree. Women, I would argue, women take rejection way worse than men. I would argue that women take rejection worse than men. Are there cases where men have crashed out from rejection? 1000%. I am not dismissing that. However, women don't do well with rejection. Because the minute you tell them no, all of a sudden now you went, now all of a sudden, just like the guys, when if you rejected a guy, the guy will go from you're beautiful to you a hoe. The girl will quickly switch positions. She reached out, said something, then rejected her, and now all of a sudden you broke, ugly. Don't nobody want you. Don't want your stank this anyway. So, yeah. Men can crash out, but so do women. So do women. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And that's why I say if you have a rejection, if you have a legitimate rejection wound, we do need to deal with that. I do think you putting yourself in positions to be rejected is one of the great ways to deal with rejection because it's constantly challenging your rejection wound. But we do need to do some deep diving and healing that. Because if you have a predominant rejection wound, I'm not going to tell you you shouldn't be dating. But in a best case scenario, we're dealing with that healthily because rejection happens to all of us. And the question becomes what meaning and stories are we attributing to that rejection that we've over identified with? Because sometimes we take rejection so personally, we lose sight of who rejected us. And we've decided to put them on a pedestal. This is something I break down to my clients all the time. Not every no comes from a place of clarity. Just because they told you no doesn't mean that they see you better than you see you, than God sees you, right? I'm not going to look at my car. I'm not going to look at my house keys a little bit differently because my niece, who doesn't know what a house key needs to be, and look at it differently and be like, well, I guess this house key is trash. No, because she doesn't have the capacity to understand that which she's holding. And here's the thing, too, not everybody that rejects you means that they're dysfunctional. Not everybody that rejects you means that they're broken and can't see. No, sometimes they just don't want you. And we have to learn to be okay with not being wanted by somebody without redirecting that to mean we're wanted or not wanted by everybody. But that comes with repetition. That comes with addressing beliefs. That comes with abundance of things, right? And so I think that's really important. Why do most humans turn disrespectful when they get rejected? Because rejection is bringing up a wound in them that they don't want to heal. So what's better is to lash out on people instead of pressing. That's probably my quickest answer. It's easier for me to crash out on you and make you the source of the problem than to be curious about why did your no bring that wound up in me that made me feel the way I felt. Because now, guess what? When I reflect, it puts the onus on me to deal with it. If I crash out, it puts the onus on you and make you the essential problem. And that's just the behavior of someone who's dysfunctional. So I think that plays a role in it too. Okay. But I would measure the dating app success not always by did you get a date? Did the conversations go well? All the things. Just like I don't measure a first date by like, are we having another date? Or is the date happening again? Like, are we having a second date? Can that be part of it? For sure. But I would argue from a more healed lens that the measurement of a successful first date is did I have fun? Did I enjoy my time? Right? How did I conduct myself in the midst of this date? And that's not to play perfectionism or pick at the little things, but how did I show up here? Did I stay true and aligned to my values through the duration of this date? Did I stay curious and inviting into conversation and connecting with this person? How present was I? Because I could do all those things to the T, and this person still is like, I don't want another date. Does that mean that I had a bad first date? No. And looking at things like this takes a massive, massive amount of being able to stay curious with where you are and focusing more on abundance instead of lack. Most people don't focus on what they have, they focus on what they don't have. Most people don't focus on where they focus on where they are not. Most people don't focus on who they are, they focus on who they are not. But if I build the intentionality of focusing on abundance instead of lack, now I get to put myself in position to get into situations and scenarios where even if the more challenging experiences happen, it's not going to be the first thing that I look at. So you got to be careful with what you rehearse. Jesus, we're gonna get there. I'm getting ahead in this series, but we getting there. We're gonna get there. So I'm just presenting to you some of these thoughts. Okay. I'm gonna put all this in the link in the YouTube description. Please go watch the replay. This is just more so on the conversation of, you know, what both parties on extreme sides may have to say on the matter of using dating apps. Okay. These are the last couple things. Older research suggested online marriages had slightly better outcomes, but use it carefully. I'm not necessarily going to cling to that. Okay. No, I haven't forgot your question, Crispy. I am not going to cling to this idea that, online marriages have slightly better outcomes. I really don't know that to be true. I'd have to really do a deep research on that. Um, I don't really think that. mm, I don't know. I don't know. But that is something that people may suggest. Okay. The strongest pro app argument is, dating apps expand access to potential partners, reduce dependence on limited social circles, allow people to filter for values and goals earlier, and can produce relationships comparable in quality to offline relationships when users move from swiping to intentional real life connections. Okay. And so I think this is really, really interesting. Okay. I would love to know what your thoughts are on everything shared in this conversation. All right. What do you agree with? What don't you agree with? Okay. What's challenging? Does this maybe enlighten you on wanting to try dating apps? Does it reaffirm that no, dating apps are a no go? Okay. Um, where are you at with it? Right. And again, there's so many other conversations that we're going to build and grow into this. I think my final thought on everything shared in this conversation today is clearly there are extreme sides to using them and not using them. Okay. I think the commonality that is clear here is that we have to be able to build, whether you choose not to engage in them or you choose to. One thing is for sure, two things for certain, that we have to build the capacity to handle our emotions and to be able to emotionally regulate healthily so that regardless of the outcome, you can return to a baseline and be okay. Whether you use apps or you don't use apps, it is not going to change the fact that you have to put something to the test. You have to see where your pain threshold is, and you have a responsibility to regulate your emotions. Whether you use apps or you don't, it's going to be tested. Whether you use apps or you don't, the common thought is we have to be able to regulate our emotions. And we have to learn how to do them healthily and effectively so that someone's no doesn't get the privilege of deteriorating the rest of your life. That's the common feature that I find so far within these thoughts. Because if you realize dating apps have not stopped the very things that we may thought dating apps would, right? Dating apps didn't stop the ghostings, the rejections, just like you going out on an every weekend and meeting somebody and finding out that you took a number, but it was only 9 digits instead of 10, or you got a full 10-digit number, but it was a fake number because it wasn't the person you connected with, or you sent them a message and they ghosted you, never responded, or they responded, you had a little bit of a conversation, went to the date and they ghosted you, or you had the conversation, they responded, went on the date and the date was bad, or I mean, we can go on and on. You met them at church, you met them out down the street, you met them at your gym, you met them at the grocery store. Cool. You know what's you understand the common theme. We have to have the ability to regulate our emotions and do them healthily so that we can engage with people healthily. It's the same thing. You met them on Instagram, you made them on Facebook, you made them, it don't matter, right? And we have to be willing to engage with those things in a more direct way. Okay. That's the commonality. Whether you agree with dating apps or you don't agree with dating apps, the same muscles and tools are needed. Same muscles or tools are needed. Okay. And again, this series is not designed to persuade you to go dating apps. The series is not designed to persuade you to go not dating apps. This series is designed to help you see from a numbers statistic place, hey, what is actually happening in these dating apps? What is actually happening? What are the real experiences? What are the real stories? What are the real impacts? And what is the real struggle? Is it really the dating apps, or is it really just my limited experiences coupled with my programming and limiting beliefs? What is it? Right? Because we got people who may go against dating apps. We got, I mean, I've again, believers, I got so much love for y'all, brothers and sisters in Christ. Absolutely. right? Whether you met them on the apps or popped the balloon. Come on, man. Like the same thing applies. And to my believers, I want to say this, because there's a lot of us who are maybe conflicted, or some of us conflicted on using dating apps, or whatever the case is, to find your spouse, to be married, to date healthily, all the things. Okay. Um, the common goal is the same. What's up, Eco? Good to see you, man. The common goal is the same: to love others as yourself and to love God. And that goes in various different directions, but the goal is the same. If I met you on a dating app and if I no longer want to talk to you and connect with you because I don't think it's a match, I want to love God and honor people. How do I do that? By saying, hey, I don't think this is going to work anymore and I'm moving forward, wishing you best of luck, though. Loving God and loving people also looks like when they tell you no, hey, I appreciate the time and opportunity. You may not have the feeling in the moment to send the message, but you respect the decision. And whatever comes up in you as it relates to them telling you no is your responsibility to deal with, not something that you throw on them, you villainize them over, or you enter a spiritual bypass and you begin to cover it by saying all these different things that really has less to do with that, has more to do with what you're using scripture to hide from instead of heal through. Good God from Zion. Okay. So the message is the same. Whether it's no, whether it's yes, anything in between. Listen, my job is to honor, love God, and love people. And before I get to demanding that somebody moves patiently and kindly with me, doesn't envy and doesn't boast, isn't proud, doesn't dishonor others, isn't self-seeking, isn't easily angered and commit, and it isn't, uh, I'm forgetting the last part. Y'all get me. 1 Corinthians 13. I don't know why I blanked right there. Okay. I typically quote that off rip. Now we're gonna try this again. Love is patient, love is kind, doesn't envy, doesn't boast, isn't proud, doesn't dishonor others, isn't self-seeking, doesn't keep any record of wrongs. There we go. I got you. Okay. Doesn't rejoice in evil, but delights in the truth. It always protects, hopes, trusts, love, persevere. Love never fails. Okay. So if we're going to move in this and we are asking other people to move in this towards us, I got a question for you. Where is that in you? Where is that in you? And this level of love is not dependent on you getting what you want or somebody doing and moving in those same ways to you. It's a decision we choose to make regardless. And guess what builds the capacity for us to do that? I know you're not going to like this, but it's part of the process. It's when somebody that you really wanted tells you no. It's when what you really wanted didn't happen the way you desired it. Can you still move in this level that God is calling you to, that is a reflection of his heart above all things? So I love the fact that you read your Bible. I love the fact that you go to church. I love the fact that you can quote the scriptures front hand, backhand. I love it. Love it for you. I know your prayer closet is deep and you float in rooms and you eat communion for breakfast. I love it for you. I really do. But you are only going to get as far as your application gives room for. So you praying for a spouse, you're praying for a relationship, amazing. Also, what are you doing? Where are you going? What are you doing? And are you putting yourself in position to be seen? It may not necessarily be through a dating app, cool. But you got to do something. You can't just stay in the house all day. Can't just stay in the house all day. Okay. And there's so many other conversations where this comes from. But I think the message still is the same. We love God, we love people, we honor these things. And we have to learn how to emotionally regulate so we do not allow those losses to be something that deteriorates the rest of our lives because of somebody we didn't even know telling us no from a distance or up close. Okay. I hope this made sense. Put a one in the chat if you gained something from this conversation. Put a one in the chat if you gain something from this conversation. Those of you watching the replay, put a one in the chat if you gain something from this conversation. Um, doesn't not looking for you to have a complete 180 on dating apps. That's not my job. As I've said before, we're just presenting some thoughts, some perspectives, some statistics, some numbers that can easily evolve over time. Okay, and we'll keep building from there. Man, it is 4 o'clock. I'm gonna take this question that I said I would get to, and then I'm out of here. If you guys have questions or anything of that sort from what we talked about today, hey, leave them in the comment section for those of you watching the replays. And be sure to, if you're on social, send me a message. All right. I would love to follow up with you there. The replay will be up on YouTube for you to watch again. All right. And we'll go from there. I'm scrolling up to find Crispy. He had a question earlier. Uh, 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 All right, 2 weeks ago, this is Crispy, who says this. 2 weeks ago, I told you my dismissive ex, this is over on TikTok, was liking my stories last week. Now she just views them, keeps me followed and everything, and she reposted a couple videos of saying "I love you," without her actually texting me that. Good or bad, I don't know, Crispy. I like I said, man, I think it sounds like we're still in a healing process from the relationship, and I think that is okay. Um, I just think we need to, I think instead of trying to figure out if this is a sign that we're in good hands, this is moving forward, or this is something that we can have back, or it's bad, we should ignore it. I just think we have to be willing to engage with this and see it for what it is. Number one, um, is that, again, the relationship is over. Um, she keeps you followed, she posts all these things. Listen, I'm paying attention to the consistencies and the behaviors of someone, right? And so we made a decision. The decision is what it is. At that point, it's not even so much to me about what she's posting and if she keeps me followed. Because I need to get back into a position of recognizing, number one, was this even a healthy, right, aligned, relationship to even get into? I'm coming back to my values, learning from this relationship and learning how my values have evolved. Is this something that even made sense at the time? You might say it does. I encourage you to work harder. Think a little different. Think through it as full as you can. I'm not telling you to look for something that's wrong, because you might be like, bro, I've done it and no. Okay, cool. And we also realize too that even though this is a relationship that may have aligned, it's not something that we have. And I'm not interested in going back and forth and entertaining nobody on nothing. So if we were connected and we had a romantic relationship, made a decision, we broke it off, whatever it is, I need distance so I can grieve this. And maybe that distance is like, yo, maybe I just need to stop checking out your stories. And I might need to mute your account. Maybe. Now, I'm not necessarily somebody that just jumps across the board and says that that's something that we need to do. Um, because I do believe that even though you can block somebody, it doesn't mean you block them from your heart. Because this is what has people creating second accounts and burner accounts to stalk somebody that ain't even interested in you, ain't thinking about you. Okay. Um, or perhaps trying to catch up with other people that we've walked away from. Um, but like I said, man, I don't necessarily know if it's a good or I'm not in the category of trying to say is it good or bad. I would rather ask you, man, is us keeping up with this healthy or unhealthy for you? Is you keeping up with this a healthy thing or an unhealthy thing? Because I think that is what gives us the best clarity on what to do and how to move forward. Because if we're saying it's unhealthy, chances are we need to make some adjustments. You know, I think the feminine energy does what the feminine energy does in these moments. Keep you followed, posting videos, saying I love you, whether that's to you or whatever. All right. But man, moving further in our masculinity, that doesn't mean I need to be dominant over you. That doesn't mean I need to call you out your name, be disrespectful, put anyone else down to look better. But what this does mean is I'm working on my emotional stability. And when I make a decision, I'm standing on it. I'm not going back and forth. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have the right to change my mind. Healing does involve and invite you to be able to change your mind. But that's why are we changing our minds? Because my values gave me permission to. Not because I was indecisive and I was afraid of what you would look at me and how you would view me. And no, no, no. I changed my mind because my values gave me permission to. Yeah. So, yeah, man. I mean, she doesn't text you that. She's just posting videos. Man, I think that's just is what it is. And I would be more curious pressing in, man, what is this bringing up in me? And what do I still possibly need to process in order to continue to let this go fully? And just be there, man. You know, that would be my thoughts. That would be my thoughts. Does that make sense? Hey, I appreciate the love. Thank you so much for the 20K. Thank you so much. Hey, shout out to Shanae. You're my favorite TikTok person for this topic. Bless you, Sean. Keep up the good work. Thank you a ton. Much love to you. Thank you. I'm glad that this was helpful. And we got so much more coming. Okay. We got so much more coming. Yeah, I appreciate you, Crispy. I hope it made sense. If you have other questions, man, please feel free to follow up. Yeah, please feel free to follow up. And we can unpack it. I think that's a great place to start, man. I would rather ask, hey, is this healthy? Is this a healthy thing for us to do? Miss Brittany, girl, you know what's crazy? Um, I was just thinking, what live was you doing? Um, man, you were encouraging some people, Miss Brittany, on women putting themselves in position to be seen. You had a dope breakdown. I thought that was dope. I didn't use it, but I was just reflecting on that. We're on a series talking about date naps, the date nap dilemma. Um, so just presenting some stuff to that. Um, so I just thought about you. That's all. But shout out to you, and shout out to Miss Brittany Gold in the chat. Whether she was here for a second or gone, appreciate you a ton. Um, but hey, I appreciate you guys. As in the YouTuber, I know she got a YouTube. Um, Mrs. Brittany Gold. Yeah, yeah. Mrs. Brittany Gold. Yeah. That's sis, man. That's sis right there. She just jumped in. I'm not so sure where she went. Oh yeah, but never mind. Well, not never mind, but you get it. Yeah. She got almost 10,000 subscribers, man. She killing the game. I love it. I love it, man. Y'all please give her a follow too. Um, she talking real good over there. Real good over there. I support everything she's doing. That's sis for sure. So y'all definitely check her out. Giving her a quick shout out there. But yeah, man. I'm glad this was helpful. I'm glad this was helpful. Um, oh, that's what's up. Yeah, we might be talking about the same person, maybe not. I'm not so sure, but yeah, man, she's doing amazing. Uh, so yeah, that's it. All right. I hope that was helpful. If you guys have further questions, comments, things that you gained from this stream that you are curious about, again, we're gonna unpack a lot of this moving forward into our journey in this series, and definitely put this into bite-sized things for us to receive and sit with. All right. So. Be sure to send me a message over on my socials. DM me secure if you're interested in anything related to, you know, um, getting into the secure program. All right. And obviously just getting you to a healthier place in your relationships altogether. All right. Your boy does individual sessions and couple sessions. Okay. So I am in the business of doing that both. So if you are someone or know someone who could use and benefit this work, send them my pages, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. All right. And tell them to reach out at me. I got you covered. And I'm excited to do some work with you as my books are open. Okay. Um, I go live. Um, yeah, so typically 3 p.m. Ooh, like 2:30 ooh, yeah, 2:30 p.m. or Eastern time is typically when I'm trying to go live. Cuz 2:30 is a little bit too late to start the live, especially with the things I'm trying to unpack with these next few. So, tomorrow I'm coming live again. And if something changes due to my schedule and booking, I'll update y'all. And I'm gonna do better with sending out these messages and instance so y'all know what time I'm going live all across the board. Okay, so just continue to stay tuned. I'll have that up there. But typically through 2:30 Eastern time, all right, 1:30 p.m. Central time, 10:30, no, 11:30 Mountain time, I believe. So, um, yeah, if you guys are interested in that, be sure to check that out. Hey, I got a free relational diagnostic at the top of my page, okay, alongside a free attachment style quiz on that same link. If you don't know your attachment style, you want to know it, or you need to know your relational diagnostic and all things related. Hey, be sure to click that link at the top of my page. Be sure to check that out. Okay. And the secure program, I have a week trial that's available to you right now to help you go from anxious or avoidant attachment to secure attachment. Okay. People are getting massive wins from this first week alone. And I want you to be a part of that as well. Okay. I'm posting testimonials regularly. All right. So be sure to pay attention to my story just so you can follow up on other people who have amazing things to say about this work. And that doesn't come from me, that comes from them. All right. Because what's better than me being a witness to myself are other people being a witness to what God is doing. All right. So be sure to check that out. And if all else fails, hey, be sure to follow for more as we continue navigating through our healing and doing relationships the right way, which starts just doing the healing work on ourselves first. I got more content uploading and coming for y'all, so be sure to check that out. And that's it. Appreciate y'all the ton for kicking it with your boy. We'll be back live tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. Central Time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If something changes, pay attention to my socials and be sure to follow there for any updates. Okay. I appreciate you guys a ton. And as always, until next time, be easy and be breezy, my friends. Peace. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to everybody who joined up. I appreciate you a ton. Take it easy. Take it easy, YouTube.